Hey, this is Jewel Taker from the Jewel Taker Show on Impact Network. Also, you can watch me and my family on The Tankers on Prime Amazon, or watch me and my sister's Chatter Talk show on Fox. So me and my girls, Dr. Dee Freeman, Monique Eilert Mosley, Real Talk Kim, and Holly Carter, and you're watching Rudy Radio.
You're listening to Rudy Radio, powered by Rude Rangers Entertainment. I'm Terra Renee from African American Women in Cinema Organization, and this is Talk with Terra, a show that highlights fantastic filmmakers, artists, and entertainers, entrepreneurs from all walks of life. We're committed to introducing you to individuals, organizations, and projects of which you're not necessarily aware, and we do this with the intention of uplifting, empowering, and enlightening you. If you can please share this episode on all your social media platforms, we'd also love it. Text your friends and ask them to tune in. Today, I have a very special guest, a young lady who is just super dynamic. I'm so grateful that she is able to be with us today, and I get to share her with all of you. She is the dynamic, beautiful Roxie. Roxie Digital.
Yes, thank you so much, Terra.
Hostess of the mostest. How are you?
Listen, I am great. It is another quarantine Saturday, and I have survived. And we are here.
Well, I understand, but thank God you're safe. And how you're feeling these days? How are you feeling?
You know, I thought when we got into quarantine and in the pandemic life, which I jokingly call it, that it would be easier because we're all doing stuff from home. So, you know, the comfort level of being home is, hey, when I want to take a nap, I'll do it. You know, when I want to take a little break, when I want to walk away, I'll do it. But, you know, surprisingly enough, and I think other people have noticed this as well, you do more work. It's actually more work doing work from home, because you forget about the housework that you do at home coupled with your actual work, and now you're tired at home, which doesn't even make any sense. Which now I understand why people are begging to go back to the workplace. Like, now I understand the separation of, this is why I escaped every day for 8 hours to be away from my family. Lord, so
it all makes sense.
It all makes sense. Now it all makes sense. You know, people were like, "Oh, it's the rat race." I don't want to. No, put me back in the race. I want to run. Put me back. So that's how I feel. I'm conflicted. I was like, bump this home stuff. Can I get a nap a day, or could we take a walk? I feel like somebody needs to. You know how people walk their dog in Central Park? Can somebody walk me? I want to go. I want to walk.
I get it. Well, that's good. That's good. This should be a movie, you know, quarantine life,
right? And
really deep, you know, get down to the insight of what really goes on from a psychological perspective.
Right. When we turn into zombies afterwards, start walking around, we start enjoying everything. We start enjoying throwing rocks in the water. We're about to go buck wild.
Oh, no. I hear you. Well, I love it. That's the title of it, Roxie. Rocks in the water. Isn't that something?
Rocks in the water. People going swimming and they don't know how to swim.
Awesome. Well, you know, one of the reasons why I am just so excited and elated to have you on board and to share you with the audience is your incredible background. Certainly, you are known for your voice. You have the radio voice that is the honest God truth.
Thank you.
I know that the listeners will keen in on that. And my question is, what drew you into media?
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that sounds broad, but like when I was in college, I went to St. John's. Shout out to St. John's in Queens.
All right.
Queens. I still go there, but we'll get into that. I was a Spanish major, so I wanted to be a high school Spanish teacher. And then
really?
I started college the year of 2001. So if we all are of a certain age on this, show and call, you'll understand what happened in 2001. That was when the towers were hit, the World Trade Center. So it was a Tuesday morning, and I was in my Spanish literature class, and the teacher said in Spanish, "The towers have just been hit."
Oh,
so
Lord.
All classes ended, all classes were suspended, the campus was shut down. So we couldn't leave. And I wasn't a dorm student, I was a commuter. I lived like 20 minutes away from St. John's. So I was like, damn, I can't leave. What am I going to do around here? So I started walking around and having a real grown-up conversation with myself. And I was like, I'm 19. I want to be a teacher. Is this really what I want to do? Is this really how I want to spend my life? Blah, blah, blah. And for real, it wasn't so much that it was the climax, because I was too young to have a climax in my career at that point, because I was just starting a career or like laying out what I was supposed to do in said career. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to do, follow through with the Spanish in education for some reason. Because today, who knew we were sitting in class, 11 of us, and who knew that the World Trade Centers were going to be hit? Wow. So it was kind of like a realization of, look how short life is. A lot of people on our campus knew people in the buildings and family members. So that was the grown part of my self-conversation was, wow, people lost their lives today. People that were in that building, that worked in that building for years. People who just started out, who were just getting into that building. So because everybody's life is short, including mine, let me do something that I love. And not that I didn't love teaching. It's just that I tapped into the other thing that I loved. The other thing I loved was radio. And I was like, man, because since I was 7, I was like, I used to listen to Wendy Williams. I used to listen to K7, to Sunny on the radio, because in my area, that's who was on. And I was like, I want to be like Wendy. So I went to the bursars, registrars, wherever, and, to my advisor, and I changed my major. And I was like, I think I'm going to do this radio thing. And I never looked back. So that was fall 2001 when I first started St. John's. I changed my major within the first 2 weeks, and that's how I got into it. Never looked back. So 2001, September 11, 2001 changed my whole career.
And you're right. I think 2001 was a defining moment in many lives, because I remember just seeing the big gaping hole in the tower, in one of the towers, and I thought, oh my Lord. And then ironically, I found out that there was a young lady by the name of Terra who perished in the World Trade Center. And it just really brought some things home with me. So that's understandably, and kudos to you for making that divine shift that put you on a path to certainly expand and share your gift with the world. So kudos to you for doing that. Well, you talked about Wendy and some of the people who inspired you. Anyone else inspired you?
Just as far as radio, Wendy, Kathy Hughes, because she started radio one. She went through it. And just really anybody in radio who not only got onto radio, especially New York radio, and survived it, but used their platforms to do other things, which I was lucky enough to be in the building and work around legends who I saw branching out and not just sticking to being on the mic, like Funk Flex, like Angie Martinez, like Oh man, Jeff Fox. Like it was great to have those kinds of conversations with them. I got my time to have a conversation with Flex. I got to interview him for something I was doing for grad school. I got my time to talk to Deja Vu. I got my time to talk to, I was really close with Jeff, really close with Mike Shannon. And they just sat and they were talking about other things that they do and other passions. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That they don't only do radio, they do other things. And I said that to myself too. I was like, well, why pigeonhole yourself and just do one thing? Everybody has an ability to do more than one thing.
That's right.
So I was like, maybe the teaching that I left, I can go back to, which, you know, is funny because today that's exactly what I did. And I was like, I don't think I'm, you know, failing by leaving something. I think I'm just going to do it my way and come back to it when I'm ready. So that's what I learned by seeing everybody, you know, branch off. And really, that's the smartest thing you can do in radio is not just think to yourself, oh, I'm going to be doing radio for 25 years. That's hardly the norm anymore. That happened back in the day. That happened to the, you know, Karen Hunters, the Wendy Williams, the Maya Higginsons. They could last that long in radio because that was that era of radio. Now you're lucky if you make 5 years because radio, you're here today, gone tomorrow. You know, if the ratings are down. And you know, who knows if the station doesn't flip formats? Who knows? If the station doesn't make money, who knows?
Right. That's right.
The pandemic alone showed how strong radio is. Nobody's in the studio anymore. Everybody does their shows from home.
That's true. That's so true.
You almost have to have a backup. Like what else? It's a career where you have to say, in all media really, but me specifically, I'm talking about radio. You have to have, you might have to have another passion. You have to have another flex. Like, what's your side gig? It's almost like an automatic question from people when they ask me, hey, what do you do? Oh, what else do you do besides radio? Because if you don't own the building,
that's
then,
right.
You know, are you about to tell us that you can predict how long you're going to be on this air? Thank God for teaching and education and
there you go.
The power to like be and think like an entrepreneur, because I had to learn a lot real quick.
I think that's a lot of people because, you know, and you're hitting the mark because the pandemic came in so quickly. It was here, but unfortunately, due to the leadership we had, you know, who kept ignoring it.
Right.
And then it became like the Titanic where it couldn't be ignored anymore. And it just threw everything off. But on that note, we'll be right back after these messages. You're listening to Talk with Terra, presented by African American Women in Cinema, right here on Rudy Radio.
Hi, I'm Harry O. Confetti, international Formula One driver. I sped to get to Long Island Telecom before they closed. I need to get one of these fantastic deals that Long Island Telecom has, because you can't beat the price anywhere else. Oh, get away from that car. What are you doing? Freaking kids playing with the car out there. Anyway, I'm glad I got here. Wait, what do you mean you're closing? I got to come back tomorrow? What's your number? 631-833-9679? Oh, stop writing me a ticket.
We're having a conversation with African American filmmakers. Join the African American Women in Cinema Filmmaker Series at the Clubhouse, presented by I Am the Color of Beautiful Global, every Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. AAWIC on Clubhouse. Join us on the Clubhouse app for this inspiring conversation. Hosted by Karen Moore, founder of I Am the Color of Beautiful Global. Join us this Monday at 6 p.m. on the Clubhouse app for African American Women in Cinema's Filmmaker Series.
I am Madame Francois, and I'm introducing my new luxury skincare brand that's available to you at an attainable price. Discover my beauty secrets, luxurious, effective ingredients with proven results and a price tag that doesn't break the bank. Come indulge with me at lesmadamefrancois.com.
Hey, this is Jewel Taker from the Jewel Taker Show on Impact Network. Also, you can watch me and my family on The Tankers on Prime Amazon, or watch me and my sister's Chatter Talk show on Fox. So me and my girls, Dr. Dee Freeman, Monique Eilert Mosley, Real Talk Kim, and Holly Carter, and you're watching Rudy Radio.
Welcome back to Talk with Terra. I am Terra Renee from African American Woman in Cinema, and today we're talking with Roxie Digital, who's talking about her passions in addition to her wonderful radio voice. Roxie, I see here that you are passionate about storytelling and community activism. Can you talk about them?
Well, I'm like the kick it on the stoop chick. So a lot of my interviews are almost like we're sitting on your stoop and we're talking about what happened. So a lot of the times, and this kind of has benefited me and taken me to new opportunities. I've interviewed like celebrities or whoever. It doesn't have to be a celebrity that's like, yo, I like your vibe. Like, I didn't feel like this was an interview. And that has gotten me into doors that, Lord, I didn't know I could walk through. So for example, I had a podcast called One-on-One with Roxie, and I used to record it out of the CBS studios on 57th Street.
Oh, wow.
In New York City, at the Westwood One Studios. They had a little, interviewing booth or whatever. So I was interviewing like celebrities, pop stars, authors, Manana Shaw. One of them was Mama Jones. So she came in. So I thought she was going to talk to me about love and hip hop. And I was like, all right, this is going to be a lively conversation. Quite the character. She starts talking about this concept of this new show she has. And she was like, I want to branch off. I don't want to just be known as the first mama of love and hip hop or Jim Jones' mother. I want my own thing. I want my own identity. I want something that is an ode to where, I lived and grew up, and something that's real New York. And that show she was speaking of was Cheers to Harlem.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, well, what is Cheers to Harlem? Could you give me the concept? So she was like, oh, it's kind of like, the show Cheers, like where it's like situated at a bar, like the location, and everybody comes together and talks about what's going on. And I was like, that's cool. And she was like, but it'll mainly be broadcasted from Harlem. So we're trying to find like a bar location in Harlem. She was like, I'm just setting it up now. It's just an idea now, but I'm like looking for a co-host. So I jokingly said in the interview, oh, I'd love to be that. I'd love to do that. That's funny. I was like, I love to drink. I love bars. I love Harlem. And lo and behold, 2 to 3 years later, we just got picked up from the network, and I am her new co-host. And
wow!
It's the little things.
Congratulations!
You may be joking about, and that's through telling a story. So hell, now I tell a bunch of stories now.
That's right.
Man. Anything. So and storytelling too is also how you learn. Storytelling too, the first 101 about radio, they tell you to be personable, to not be, so robotic, and relate to people, and be personable. So that's how I got so ahead in radio, or at least the reputation of, wow, she's a good interviewer. It's because I let my guard down when somebody comes in. It could be the biggest of celebrities to be just up and coming. I always feel the same. So that's my consistency throughout. I even remember interviewing Common.
Wow.
It wasn't the Common that we all know now. It was Common that was just starting out, but we knew him as the neo soul. but he was just moving on up to like almost that Oscar-winning common. And it was funny after our interview, he was like, "Hey, what is your sign?" I was like, "I don't ever think I've heard a celebrity ask me what my zodiac sign was." So I was like, "I'm an Aquarius." He's like, "That's why." He was like, "You're like amazing," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, common are amazing." But he was like, "No, for real, it's like I was just talking to my little sister," and I was like, "Oh, that's great. That's great to like be validated and heard from someone like Common that it felt like he was coming to kick it with me." So that's thankfully one thing in 16 years of doing this that I've always gotten the same comment, like, "You do this flawlessly." And I was like, because it's story. You're telling me your story and I'm listening to it, and I might, the way we interact, the way it comes about as the interview is going, I might share a story with you. So it's that back and forth. And it can either turn into a best friendship or, I'll see you again for a second interview. So so those two things. And then I think you also mentioned, so you said storytelling and
activism, which is very, we're living in the era right now, Roxie, so much, activism. How did you get into that?
From baby, from little, because I always went to Catholic school, but that really had nothing to do with it. But I have to mention that because a big thing in Catholic school was service. So we had to learn about it, going to do community service and wrapping gifts for kids that were underprivileged. And a lot of it too had to do with my home life. Like my mother was that way. She loved to, not do community service. I don't know how to say it, but like just be a service to others. Because naturally, she was a nurse. So naturally, that's what they do, right? So that was in her, but like, not just in her to do the job, but in her to be like, hey, I'm not just a nurse. I'll help anybody in need.
Wow. So
like when you see that in the home, and then on top of that, you are in a school which institutes the principle of. So it was always ingrained anywhere I went. Down from the Catholic school I went to the high school I went to the organizations that I got a part of, to my sorority. Everything had service in it. So I was like, wow, I can't escape this. So, I guess this is life. So I just got used to, and I used to say this, I don't do it as much now, well, obviously, because we're in a pandemic, but every holiday, I promise you, it was Christmas or Thanksgiving. I never, I celebrated with my family, but I never started the day with my family. I started the day with other families.
Wow.
I started the day in the soup kitchen. I started the day driving from house to house and delivering gifts. I started the day by going to churches. It used to be such a thing that people would hit me on my Facebook, on my my DM, and be like, hey, you do community service every year. Could you tell me where to go this year, or can I go with you?
Wow.
That's how much I did it.
Wow.
But like I said, the pandemic hit and that changed. I couldn't physically go to soup kitchens anymore. I couldn't, but in every way, even if I can't physically go, I'm like, where can I send money? Where can I send my clothes? So,
wow.
Once it's ingrained in you, you can't stop doing it. It's almost like a religion. If that's how you, if that's how you praise, if that's how you, recognize something, that's all you know.
That's right. That's right.
So, and then that leaked into as soon as we started seeing a pattern of, which I guess will unfortunately never end, our Black and brown men and women being killed, then it leaked into protests. And, although I can't be at every protest in every city, once there's one in New York, I'm definitely there. Especially when George Floyd and Breonna Taylor were murdered. I was in the streets of Brooklyn like, what are we doing? What are we doing? So I'm glad to be a part of those things and be a part of history and understand. It's not just taking walks and holding picket signs and all that stuff. It's like, you need to be seen, and you need to let people know that, like, we see you. Like, we're not going to sit here and just be like, well, we'll wait for the government to handle it, or we'll wait for a bigger voice. You got to be part of the movement, and you want to, you know, I know it's a cliche and I hate cliches myself, but you got to be the change you want to see.
Yeah.
So I would feel bad if, especially me, I push myself a little bit harder. I'm harder on myself because I'm like, you can't be on the radio and be in front of these mics and be talking to these people and have all these relationships and not take a stand for what's happening with young men and women.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be mentoring young men and women and ignore what's happening in the street. So I almost feel like it's my duty to, you know, be at the front of the picket line. It's my duty to be at the press conferences. It's my duty to, if somebody says that they need help or they need a way to continue this activism or be a platform where they can come on and talk about it. It's my duty to do that.
You know, I tell you, this is so inspiring, listening to you say that, because, you know, activism certainly runs in my family line as well. And it is not only is it a need that you feel that you have to be there, it's a fulfillment you get too when you're participating and doing these things. I had family members who participated in some of the civil rights marches back in the day with Dr. King, and my grandfather attended Dr. King's funeral. So that's certainly in my blood, and I can certainly relate to you in what you're saying. And seeing the lives that are touched by when you do these things. I mean, you know, that's not a determining factor for me. I do it whether someone is touched or not. I go to the need. But have you received any testimonials from, you know, the input of your activism and how you have really reached out to people? Have anyone ever come back to you and say, Roxie, I don't know why, or, you know, I am so grateful you did this. I don't know why you did it, but I am grateful because X happened, B happened. We were able to rest that night because of you. Have anyone come back and share?
Definitely. I am the co-founder of an organization called the No Disrespect Campaign.
Yes.
We talk to, and it's me and my business partner, Shawnee Culture. He's the show producer over at Hot 97. And we go to different schools around New York City. The borough we've touched the most is Brooklyn, but we've gone to Harlem and the Bronx. But in Brooklyn, we visit a lot of the same schools. One of those schools being Erasmus High School, another being the School of Urban Action, I believe, or I may be getting that wrong, Social Action. I think that's in Harlem. But anyways, one of the schools we went to, I believe it was in Harlem, we do icebreakers on the stage. So we do an assembly style forum where we have 350 kids go to get on the stage, and you know, we make them dance, do something creative in the arts. But the number one thing that we do through the icebreakers is try to get them to reveal their personality.
Wow.
I guess I'll tell you more about that.
Yes.
In a few, because it's a really poignant story.
Wow. Well, we have to take another commercial break, but please don't forget to share this episode on your social media platforms. You're listening to Talk with Terra, powered by African American Women in Cinema on Rudy Radio.
Hi, I'm Dan O'Shea, Executive Director for Maureen's Haven Homeless Outreach. It is our mission to support the homeless in our community. We provide an emergency winter shelter program, a day center, and support services to help the homeless in our community. With your help, we can continue to provide services so critically needed to the homeless in our community. Please visit www.maureen'shaven.org or call us at 631-727-683.
I am Madame Francois, and I'm introducing my new luxury skincare brand that's available to you at an attainable price. Discover my beauty secrets, luxurious, effective ingredients with proven results and a price tag that doesn't break the bank. Come indulge with me at lesmadamefrancois.com.
Welcome back to Talk with Terra. I am Terra Renee from African American Women in Cinema, and today we're talking with Roxie, who's telling us and sharing with us before he went to break a wonderful and powerful story about service. Go ahead, Miss Roxie.
So me and our organization, me and Shawnee Culture's organization, the No Disrespect campaign, we were doing an assembly style forum in front of like 350, 400 kids at Academy of Social Action in Harlem. We invited a young lady up to the stage, and we thought she was going to dance and show us some stuff. And she was too shy to do that. So instead, we played an icebreaker. It's the toilet tissue icebreaker, where we bring a roll of toilet tissue on the stage, but we don't tell the kids what we're going to do yet. We're just like, cut off as many perforated sheets as you want. So take as much toilet paper as you want and cut and rip off at the cutting point however much you want. So she cut off about 10 perforated sheets from a roll of toilet paper. And then we had to tell them the rules of the game. I was like, the rules of the game is however many sheets of toilet paper you took out, you have to tell me one nice thing about you. So it depended on how much you had in your hand. You could have 3 of those, you could have 300. So she had 10. So, she looked like a pretty decent, confident girl. I thought she was going to be like, I'm pretty, I'm this, I'm a dancer. But when she started it, she could not say not one nice thing about herself.
Wow.
And I think that's what makes it such a powerful icebreaker, that you have to find something, you have to be positive and have so much self-love within yourself that you have to be, you have to have the courage enough to be like, I am this, I am that. And not a lot of people, you don't realize how many people can't do that. You have a lot of people walking around in this world saying and proclaiming that they're confident and I love myself and I'm this, but they look in the mirror and they really do hate themselves, or they just, they can't find anything nice. And sometimes that has to do with trauma.
Yes.
Sometimes that has to do with, they may have failed at something, they don't feel good enough. So it was a test of that. It was a test of self-love and how she felt about her self-image. And she cried because she could not find something good to say about herself. Now, this is in front of 350, 400 kids in her school. Now, while we're sitting there waiting, we're being patient, we're not bothering her, we're not pressuring her at all. I do come up to her, behind her, and speak in her ears. I was like, do you need any help? Is this tough for you? I was like, you want to tell me why you're crying? And she was like, and she finally calmed down, took the mic. She's like, I'm crying because I'm a 20-year-old senior at this school, have not been able to graduate yet with 2 kids. And I don't know my kids' fathers. I don't know my baby fathers. So I can't find anything good to say about myself because I shouldn't be 20 in high school. I shouldn't have 2 kids. I shouldn't be living in a halfway house. So she felt like a complete failure. But we rallied everybody in that room because the whole room got quiet.
Wow.
Because I think some people didn't know she was 20. I think some people didn't know she had 2 kids. Because she appeared young. And everybody was shouting out words as she was. They were like, you're beautiful. You can do this. So she made everybody cry. Woo! Even me thinking about it, I'm crying.
Wow.
But a couple of months later, a year later, we got good progress report from her. She's doing well.
Good.
She graduated high school.
Oh, wow.
In a community college. And she was like, thank you for that day. That was, I never really heard anybody say something positive to me. You got a whole, auditorium to tell me what I didn't know that I am and what I know deep inside I am, but I needed to hear it because obviously nobody was telling her that. So that was powerful. That and a bunch of other things I've done. I've worked as an education consultant with, I think Jackie Robinson School, PS 375 in Brooklyn. And I do like entrepreneurship workshops. And about 4 of the girls about 6 of the girls in the classroom are Haitian, like me. And they don't really know they are not really mastered in the English language. So when I came in and I introduced myself, I was like, hey, I'm Miss Roxie. I've been in radio, and I did all that surface stuff. But when it came to me telling them that I was Haitian, all their eyes lit up because they were like, somebody that understands our language. So the teachers came to me after that first day that I had met them, and they were like, the fact that you told them that you were Haitian, they love you. They can relate to you. They don't feel bad about speaking in their accents in front of you. And by the end of that entrepreneurship program, because they had to do a presentation in front of their school too, these were girls that would not stand in front of the classroom and do a presentation. These were girls that would not talk. These were girls that sat in the corner. They did the presentation at the end of the school year and presented the hell out of what they were presenting in front of the school. And they were like, if it wasn't for Miss Roxie, who said, it's fine that you sound like this because I was an ESL student too, then we wouldn't have the confidence to do this in front of y'all.
Yes.
So, wow. Things like representation and words are powerful. Right? And how you use your words and how you say your words are so powerful. So if you give somebody the confidence that they didn't think they had, if you just push somebody, you don't know their potential. And I saw it in that 20-year-old girl, and I saw it in those 6 Haitian little girls, where those 6 Haitian girls never heard from anybody in that whole school in PS 375. It's all right. You can speak in an accent. Do you know what Brooklyn is? Brooklyn is literally Little Haiti. So how are you guys even fearing or shaming speaking in an accent when half of this block hardly speaks English? But they're getting by and they're getting through and they're owning businesses and they're owning pate bakeries and they're owning this. And they didn't know that. And that was the thing. If they knew that, they would have thrived a long time ago. So part of me was like upset being that they were in the heart of Brooklyn, not knowing their surroundings. Not knowing that. And I gave them a perfect example. I was like, do you know I grew up on East 29 and Flatbush Avenue? That's down the block from this school. Wow. Like I was around the block from Haitian restaurant 1, 2, 3. That didn't deter me. I had to teach my parents English while I was learning English. Wow. I was like, if I can do that at 6 years old, you can do that in the 6th grade. So, and they thought about it like, oh, wow. Like they looked at it in a different perspective. Like, wow, she had to do it younger than us. So, meaning we have no excuse. Because I was like, 6 years old is way younger than 12 years old. So, you got to put things in perspective for kids.
You do. So they can see it, from their perspective. I recall one time, and that's powerful, Roxie. Kudos to you. Thank God you are here doing what you're called to do because you're changing lives. I remember a story of a teacher telling me that she had given some students homework and their parents, very young parents, came and told her the next day when the homework was due that they couldn't do the homework because they didn't have any pens or pencils in the house. And she said to them, first of all, that's something you could even call me and I would make sure you have the supplies. But don't allow that to deter your children from learning. Our ancestors wanted to learn and could not. If they were caught learning, they would be severely punished. So some of them snuck out at night using moonlight, rocks, and sticks in the dirt to try to learn how to write. And that's what she told the parents. And she never had that issue again. And so you're right, meeting them where they are so they can understand from their perspective will loose them from that form of psychological captivity, I think.
You're right. And sometimes all it takes is, I know we already talked about it already, but all it takes is talking about a story, like your personal testimony, like because you're never too far away from somebody else's experiences either, even if you think that you are, because even, some rich people have a story before they got rich, right?
That's right.
Everybody has a story to where they got to before they got there. You don't just you're not just born like with $1 million. You're not born. Some people are born with a silver spoon in their mouth, but not everybody is. Some people are self-made. So that's why it's important for kids to be exposed to everywhere. The number one thing I say whenever I go into an assembly, or if I'm just talking to people for career day or mentoring someone, is you got to get out the box.
Yes.
You cannot stay in Brooklyn all your life. You cannot stay in this part of Brooklyn all your life. You cannot stay with these friends all your life. You cannot stay where, like imagine doing the same thing every day, 365 that's crazy. I was like, get up and go study abroad. Get up and take yourself to an island you'd never go to. Get up and read a book that you'd never read. Get up and make friends with somebody who's interested in, I don't know, bioengineering and not just doing hair. Do something different.
That's right. That's right. And what's the beauty of what you just shared with us about the 20-year-old young lady? You gave her the tools. Everybody pitched in. That was the lovely part. Gave her tools. But here's the other part, Roxie. She used them. Clearly, she used them. And
Thank
that's
God
what
she knew how to.
Exactly. So instead of being a victim, if you will, that's certainly not the term I want to use, but just for us speaking of a negative thought, you could take a stand against that and remember some of the words that were spoken in that auditorium. You're beautiful. You're great. You're this. I tell you, the power of positivity or positive reinforcement, that has a lot of power. It has a lot of power. So since we're speaking about education, please tell our audience, I tell you, I'm talking to a super duper scholar here.
I just like to learn. I don't like to get out the classroom. Classrooms are safe, kind of, depending on who's teaching you. I just joked with my friend this morning. Actually, let me get my thoughts together so I can tell you exactly how the conversation went. That'll make sense.
Okay. Well, we have to take another commercial break, but please don't forget to share this episode on social media. You're listening to Talk with Terra, powered by African American Women in Cinema, right here on Rudy Radio.
Hi, I'm Dan O'Shea, Executive Director for Maureen's Haven Homeless Outreach. It is our mission to support the homeless in our community. We provide an emergency winter shelter program, a day center, and support services to help the homeless in our community. With your help, we can continue to provide services so critically needed to the homeless in our community. Please visit www.maureen'shaven.org or call us at 631-727-683.
Welcome back to Talk with Terra. I am Terra Renee from African American Women in Cinema, and today we're talking with Roxie Digital. Before we went to break, we were talking about wonderful background in education, and she has a story to share with us. Roxie.
Right. So I was saying, I was talking to my friend this morning and he joked, he was like, "You're like a career scholar." And I was like, oh, thanks for the backhanded compliments. But yes, if I'm starting from the age of 18 when I started college, I've been in school for 20 years.
Wow.
And because my ass decided to get a bachelor's, 2 masters, go study abroad, and do a doctorate.
Wow.
But I like to say I do like to learn a lot. Like really, you have to love to learn and be a little bit of a different kind of crazy to be in school for 20 years after junior high. I mean after high school. After high school, you have to be that crazy. So, and I've learned mostly in the field of media, you know, and radio and television. But as I get older, which I am now, I've switched to, you know, funny enough, it's kind of like we're ending this the way I started it. You know how I told you I left the field of Spanish and education to come to radio. Now it's like as I get older, I'm preparing for the transition to not really leave radio, but give it a little rest and let it to go back into education. But this time not in the teaching capacity. What I am in school for now is instructional leadership and curriculum design.
Wow.
My goal is to work with, my concentration in my dissertation is working closely with ELL kids, and ELL stands for English Language Learning, or in the past we used to call it English as a Second Language, ESL. And funny enough, also relating back to the stories I just told you about the 6 Haitian girls, they were kind of my motivation to get into this program, because I was noticing every time I got into schools, and yeah, we would speak to a heavy population of Black and brown students, young women and men, but we would also be talking to a lot of immigrant students. By immigrant students, I mean the students from the islands, you know, whether they were Spanish speaking or, yes, English speaking, but limited in English. So I noticed that a lot, at least on my end. I don't know about my partner. I noticed that a lot. And I noticed a lot of them were Haitian. And because I do speak several different languages, one of them being Haitian Creole, I was like, you know, nobody's catering to these kids and these classrooms in the way that they learn and how they should learn, and the use of the English language and how creative you can get to getting them to be comfortable in speaking the English language. So I was like, I think if I do revisit going back to school for the craziest 70th time in my life, it should be on focusing on these kids and helping them to learn in ways that they are confident in going out into the real world and expressing themselves. So my concentration is on developing a program that focuses on positive language acquisition, language positivity, and creating a culturally responsive education atmosphere. So where they're in the class and they feel comfortable in being the student that raises their hand that says, I want to read this, or, you know, I want to learn about this. I want to learn more about this. Or how I used to do the entrepreneurship workshops. And like, I want to learn how to, you know, start a business and bring it back to my country. And bring the dollars and the opportunities back to my native country, or people of my community that come from my native country. So I want to create that, and the language positivity and acquisition portion is the most crucial part of what I'm focusing on, because I want them to say, you know, I want the kids who speak another language, despite what it is. I'm just focusing on, you know, Caribbean immigrant students, but no matter who it is, to say, I am proud, I'm a proud immigrant student getting education here, because, you know, this country was built on the backs of us. So I want them to learn the reverse of what we've been hearing in this country, where, you know, we want you out, we don't want you here. No, I want them to hear the exact reverse. We want you here. You help our country be greater.
Yes.
So every time I approach them on some, do you know how important you are? Voices, even if your voice sounds different from Karen's voice, even if your voice sounds different from Chad's voice, you're just as important. So that's why the work I mean, all the work I've done through undergraduate and graduate is important. This is my most important work because it's my life's work. Because I sat back and looked at it this morning as I was joking with my friend, and I was like, yeah, I've done a lot of media. I've done a lot in 16 years. Yeah. Working. Yes. But if I really look at it, what I'm doing now, even though I've only been in the program for 2 years, this is my life's work. Why? Because this is something I'm involving myself in, something that I've been all my life. So I've been Haitian all my life. I've been able to speak another language all my life. All my life. So I'm taking everything I've known all my life and throwing it into my research. So that's why it's my life's work. And that's what's important. And I don't think I realized that until like a couple of months ago, that I'm like, oh, look at the interesting circle I just created for myself. I just came back to what I think God was telling me you were supposed to do. I just took a couple of detours and did something I really wanted to do, because my other passion was radio, and that's cool. He gave me that opportunity. He's like, go ahead, go to your little BLS and go to your little Radio 103.9, go have fun. It was kind of like God saying, go wild out. I know you want to go to the club, but we got to get serious again. Come on back and stuff. So yeah.
But that is amazing. That's amazing, Roxie. Could you tell the audience what you're working on now? I know you told us about your wonderful opportunity program that, I mean, just mind blowing. So we're definitely looking forward to that. But what other things can you share? Or if you want to elaborate more on that?
So there is I co-found the No Disrespect program, which has been in existence since 2014, so about 7 years. But I just founded the Self-IC project, which is a part of my doctoral program, because I started it in my doctoral program. I started it in 2019. So it's like, this is what's going to become the center that I want to open. This is going to become the ambassador program that I want to open. This is going to become the course I want to include in curriculums around schools in New York City. So Self-IC is my life's work. It is a play off of the word self-esteem, because that's what I'm bringing to the kids who don't believe in themselves, whether it be because I speak in an accent and nobody understands me, or, I don't know if I can do this because I come from a poor background, or just as simple as the young 20-year-old I told you about. I don't believe I can do it because I may have already passed my prime and I'm 20 and it's too late. So that's what I want kids to get off of this program, and how to learn in their own way.
Yes, that's
how
important.
To learn in their own way, not the way that we put these lesson plans and curriculum that we put in these schools, and you have to go by this and take the regents and take the SATs. I don't want the whole I hated standardized tests. I hated, having to be judged and everything calculated off of this numerical score that I got on this test to put me in this classroom to signify me and categorize me as special education and this and that. I hated that because I was much smarter than that. And I proved myself that through getting into programs and doing things and writing papers that people were like, wow, you come at this topic in such a unique and creative way. And I was like, yes, because I don't think like everybody else. I don't need that, 12, 13, 1400 SAT to prove that I can do amazing things and become an engineer. And so I want that component in the schools. I want students to just feel confident enough to say, I'm going to make it all the way through the top, even if I fail a couple of times. Because I just want people to know that it is the best accomplishment to even try.
Yes.
Because I'm a perfect example of that. I've applied to things that I've continued to get denied at and said no at, and just tried again in a different way, and I got through those doors in that way. I've always been that person who, even if somebody says no, I'll find another way for somebody else to say yes. So, interesting, just a real quick, interesting story that's off topic from this. I went to California for my birthday this year. I snuck away for the pandemic and got on the plane. And I was at Palos Verdes hiking trail. And my friend is an avid hiker. She goes on mountains. She don't care. She will go down the steepest mountain and be like, yeah. And I'm looking at her like, no, I'm not dying for you. So she told me to go down with her and hike down with her this very steep, rocky hiking trail. And I refused. I was crying. I was shaking. And she was not making fun of me, but she was like, you know, she was trying to provoke me and get me to get down by saying this. She was like, you know, only the strongest people can do this. I understand. I understand. So you can stay where you are and I'll continue to go.
Wow.
I was like, all right, this is how you gonna get me? All right. You think you can intimidate me by telling me I'm too weak to go down? So it's kind of like what I just said. I was like, I'm gonna get down there just my way.
There you go.
So what she didn't know what I was doing is that I peeped that there was another way through the trail that I could get down to where she was at. So I kept walking and I found another way and I walked around. I had to climb some rocks, some steep rocks, but they weren't as steep as what she had originally told me to go down. Because there was a part of the hiking trail where if I missed a step, Terra, if I missed a step, you know what I'm going to say next. You could die, really, because it was, if you don't know what you're doing and you go hiking for the first time, no, you're not lucky. You just perish. So I went down the safer way and I got all the way around to her.
Wow.
And she was like, how did you get down here? I was like, because there's always another way. So that was my get back. I was like, oh, you want to call me when there is another way? Girl, you just took the dangerous way. And it was funny, before I found the second safer way to get there, two older women were walking by me and they were like, is that your friend? They were like, she's crazy. Thank God you didn't go down there with her. And I was like, yeah, I see another way down. And she was like, they were like, go do that. And we'll pray for the both of you. But thank God you didn't do that. She was like, because we were thinking, it was two older ladies. They said, we were thinking of doing it. And then we saw that sharp turn. And, you know, say if your leg gives out or something happens, you cramp up, you're done. And they were right. And that's what I was thinking. I'm a person that thinks of the what ifs. Whereas people that take bigger risks, like my friend, she's a risk taker. She'll jump out of a plane without a parachute. And that's all good and dandy for her. But for me, you know, I kind of like to plan logically and be a little bit more practical. Even though I have an adventurous side, my adventurous side even has a plan. So, always have a plan. Always do it your way, even if it's not going to get you to that way quicker. Because sometimes, you know, slow and steady wins the race. I won the race just differently than she did that morning, and that's why I'm still here with you today.
Well, thank God for that.
Let's point that out.
Yes. Thank God for sending those angels to just reaffirm.
Right. There are angels in Los Angeles.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. That is some kind of power. Roxie, can you please share with the audience, how can they follow you and like you on your social media platforms?
Well, look, I am all over this social media thing. You can find me all across the board on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Roxie Digital. That is ROXIE Digital. Again, Roxie Digital, ROXIE Digital. And I apologize in advance. I post a lot. Sometimes I could get ratchet, but because of the days and times that we are in now, a lot of it has to do with activism, and I'm exposing a lot of people that do some really great work, and leaders that are really at the forefront of making sure that we end this injustice. So you'll learn a lot. You'll learn a lot. Thank you. And I just want to collaborate with people. So if people could connect and we can put our heads together and create stuff, that would be great. Especially in the Black community, we need to collaborate.
Excellent. Well, I don't know where the time went, but they're telling me that we have to go. And thank you so much for listening to Talk with Terra. I am Terra Renee from African American Women in Cinema Organization. You can visit us at www.aawic.org. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter and like us on Facebook. Talk with Terra is made possible by Rude Rangers Entertainment. Our creative director is Rudy J. Breedy. Please don't forget to like and share this episode with as many people as possible. We sincerely appreciate you joining us today and wish you continued peace, blessings, and prosperity. See you next episode.